Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast. It is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. On this episode, we are joined by Sambaza, host and creator of the Sambaza Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast, a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. Welcome. We are excited to have our co-host, Sambaza, host and creator of the Sambaza Podcast, a remarkable figure in the podcasting world, hailing from the Republic of Kenya. He has garnered 3 nominations for Best African Diasporan Podcast by the APVA, the African Podcast and Voice Awards. In addition, he also has been nominated for Best Blog by the Texas Creator Awards. He presented at Afros and Audio Podcast Festival in 2023, 2024, and he has also participated in the 2025 Podfest. Welcome, Sambaza.
Hey, Jen, what's up? I'm just trying to get this stuff ready here. I'm doing. Hey, how have you been?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Thank you.
I want to say everything has been great this week, birthday week, last weekend, and celebrated all that good stuff. What can I add today? We're live on TikTok. If you're listening to us, we're on TikTok. We are also on Clubhouse, and hanging out there in the East African excellence. That's what it is. And hey, you can catch us on all socials. But apart from that, it's a great week. How's yours?
Yeah, and salute on your additional trip around the sun. You didn't tell us that last time, and I had to find out in the streets that it was your birthday, so I had to throw a little reel together.
Oh yeah, I love the reel. Love the reel.
Okay,
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you so much. That was nice.
You're
I
welcome.
blessed me with that reel. Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Good. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed and are back
Ready
for another topic.
Yeah.
So,
Before we get into the topic, let's throw in some good news. Afros and Audio is coming from the 16th to the 19th of October. It's coming soon. I have been selected to be on the panel, plus a few guys from the C4 Collective have also been selected onto the panel itself, and it's awesome. So, guys, watch out. We'll give you more stuff coming in, but that's one of the good things that's happening so far.
well, kudos on being selected for the panel. That is hot off the presses news. It's very exciting. You presented before, so yeah, good vibes to you in travels. I'm not sure if I'll make it this year, but we'll be, rooting for you. I think there's a virtual option, so we'll see about that, and I'm sure you'll do fantastic as always.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna come in and hang out and try. For this time, whatever I've been given to do is nice, and I want to add on to the other part where we'll do a lot of helping out. I want to be helping out and see. It's more enjoyable when you're there helping out. I think there's more fun in that.
Definitely, you have the experience, so I'm sure they definitely could appreciate your services in that. But before we officially introduce the topic, I did want to share that we'll be talking about the longstanding theory of driving while Black in light of a recent news story that centered around an unarmed driver having a pretty heated exchange with the police. So I had the idea to talk about that driving while Black. Do we have this fear? Talk about what that definition is and all the things that surround this particular news story. So we'll get into that shortly and show a clip for perspective and all the things. So, but before...
But remember, there are 3 sides. This is what I say. There are 3 sides of the story. There's the one side of the story, his, hers, or his, and the truth. So there's always 3 sides of the story. All what we're doing is we're just going to be in the middle, trying to decipher. It may not be right, it may be right, but it's our opinion, what we see, and hey, we just seeing like it is, right?
For sure. And like this is like getting back into the root of like what Woke by Accident was kind of birthed from, these news stories, of people being disenfranchised, having these encounters with police or individuals, and us having our say about it. So kind of getting back to the beginning origins of Woke by Accidents with this episode. So thank you for joining us. Audio episode will be out soon.
I'm listening in the background and going back to my roots. There's a song anyway. It's just back in my head.
Yeah.
But hey, before we forget the affirmation
Mhm.
of the day, it's really exciting about this affirmation. I like it. It says, "I move my body in ways that bring me joy." So if I do, it's bringing me joy.
Wait a minute. What?
Affirmation says, "I move my body in ways that bring me joy." So it's
Okay.
about self. Yes. So anything to do with self, and
Mhm.
self care, self emotional intelligence, and anything about self. So whatever brings me joy is where how I move my body. So that's today's affirmation, guys. Yep.
Okay, we received that. How about a African proverb?
Oh yeah. So I went and traveled over the weekend to the country of Algeria. Now Algeria is in the north of Africa. Um, it Here's some fun facts about it. So it is the largest in Africa. As they say, Algeria is the biggest country in Africa by land area when you talk about the land area. And another thing is, Jen, remember that iced coffee that we drink? It is believed to have originated in Algeria back around 1840. So
Okay.
they're the ones who kind of started it off. 80% of Algeria is covered by the Sahara Desert. And last but not least, this is very, very interesting. Algeria is one of the few countries in the world that does not owe money to any other country. Re-
Hmm.
Again, does not owe money to any other country, which means that they're debt free. That's something that
Okay.
people don't know about, or maybe people do know. I found that like, wow, okay, makes sense.
Right.
All right, so here goes the proverb: the one whose belly isn't full of straw isn't afraid of fire. I'll repeat that again. The one whose belly isn't full of straw isn't afraid of fire. All right, what do you think about the proverb, and what do you decipher? How can you decipher that proverb
Yeah,
today?
I immediately think of the scarecrow. And so the scarecrow was supposed to be the not courageous one. So if you are not made of straw, then you have courage, right? So yeah.
So what it is that the one I could equate it to the one story about Jesus when he told the people who were stoning that the lady, and they said, "Hey, if you have not seen, be the one to cast the first stone," and they were not able to. So it's the same thing as if you do if you know you are or you're carrying fuel, right? You're not
Okay.
gonna go close to a fire or light a matchbox close to yourself. So if you know dirt, you'll be scared, like these politicians nowadays, when you're into politics and you try to go out there and talk your stuff. You are careful about what you talk about, because if you say something wrong to somebody, oh, they're going to come back at you, and when they come back at you, it ain't going to be nice, because they probably have receipts and all that. So that's how I'd equate today's proverb, which says, the one whose belly isn't full of straw isn't afraid of fire.
Okay.
All right,
We received that. Thank you for sharing.
welcome.
Absolutely. And welcome in. I'm gonna say greetings to the chat.
Yo, yeah, we have Hill Empower Release. That's Denise, and she was here last week with the
She
episode,
was.
and we had a great episode. If you want to go check it out, it's out on all the socials and also audio and video as well. So go ahead and take a look at it. It was very intuitive. In what is it? Very informative and intuitive
Absolutely.
as well.
Yes, we thank Miss
Welcome.
Denise more for
Anybody
joining
else?
us.
We got a lot of people. We got some on live on TikTok. We got
Yes.
others who are there on listening onto Clubhouse, and then we also have here on our live on YouTube. And we just want to thank you guys for coming through.
Absolutely. The audio episode will be out soon for these recent episodes. And we appreciate you guys for tapping in with us to take a part of this conversation. Absolutely. So, getting back to our topic. So, we will officially introduce the topic. So, we want to revisit this theory of driving while black, a phrase rooted in racial profiling and the over policing of black motorists. We mentioned the recent incident news story involving a young man, William McNeil, and the Jacksonville Police Department as a springboard, and we will explore systemic injustice in traffic stops, legal implications, and the trauma that many Black drivers face and feel behind the wheel. So, yeah, we wanted to, talk about that harsh reality, which a lot of people call driving while black.
All right, what you got for us?
So,
Get the receipts.
is that where you want to start? So, yeah. So, what inspired this was the news story from Jacksonville, Florida. The the young man, William McNeil, was stopped by an officer without clear justification. And we have a clip that we would like to show. And this is from a Fox affiliate. So I guess we'll start there. And this is kind of the short version.
You doing both?
Or you doing one? I start with the short one.
Short one? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we'll start with that one.
So for the other guys who are not on YouTube, they're gonna have to kind of listen in and be like, okay, this is what we hear. Doesn't that suck? You probably want to see exactly what's going on.
Well,
so we're gonna put the links on the show notes so they can see, right?
We will include those. So
they just have to watch my expressions. And be like,
can you call your supervisor? All right, go for it. Exit the vehicle now. Exit the vehicle. Show me your hands. Here.
A controversial and hard to watch for so many traffic stops recently went viral. And now attorneys for the driver.
Okay, so that's like the really short version of the impact of, it kind of starts with the gentleman's window getting busted out. And then there's another angle that shows and they kind of shortened it in that news clip of, and that's, I guess, Denise is in Florida. We have some folks that we know that are in Florida. So, I kind of wonder like what the feeling in, the city is about this. I mean, this happens in all the cities. Obviously, we've seen, something similar happen, but it just really kind of struck me seeing this video clip, because he literally kind of threw his hands up, and the way that he kind of act unaffected by getting the glass broken. I think anyone else probably would have been, visibly shaken, upset. And he just kind of had, I don't know if calm is the word, because he was upset. And he did, demonstrate that he was upset, which, you have a right to be without, showing violence or threatening mannerisms and things like that. So I guess thoughts on this clip.
We're not making any judgment. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore it and break it down to see how it fits the broader pattern of racial profiling. And then you have to ask this critical question. Is this theory a perception, or is it real, or it's proverbial truth, or is some proverbial truth around it? I think that's where, if you can try to figure that out, it'll probably help us out, knowing how it goes. And so that's the reason why we have the clips. I think that was a shortened version, right? The first one. So we got how many more clips? 2?
There's one that's the body camera angle that kind of shows the physical exchange once he's pulled out of the car.
Right.
So we can go back to this one's so short. We'll just do this one and then we'll do the other one behind it.
All right.
Let me okay, there we go. So that's that one. Right back there.
Go for it. Exit the vehicle now. Exit the vehicle. Show me your hands.
Here. A controversial and hard to watch for so many traffic stop recently went viral. Now,
so that's the one, and then the other clip kind of picks up from when the glass is broken, and I want to show that. There's some feet or
was the other one that was the. You had another one. That was
I do. That's the body camera one, so it's a different angle. Okay, so let's pick up here.
But you got the one. It's already the guy. There's a cop that came to the front of the car to stop it from him taking off. And I don't see why. Did they think that he was going to run away?
Correct.
Wow.
But so this is the moment, like before he punches the glass. But because it's the body camera, his camera's too low for you to see the glass getting broken. But he says he's gonna
exit the vehicle now.
Okay, there it is.
Show me your hands. Here.
The glass is already broke.
What about the one that you had before?
That's the same one. I just took it back further. But I wanted this part to be shown first. Yeah, it's the same clip.
Put your hands behind your back. Resist. Hands behind your back. What's wrong with you?
But he literally mushed his face against the concrete when he's already being held down.
What's going on, bro? What's going on, man? You're under arrest. That's what's going on. No, yes, bro. No reason, bro.
I feel like he has a lawsuit. I mean, just in my humble opinion, I feel like.
And I'm just trying to have a regular conversation with y'all.
Well, the one thing is they don't put
look, he was being restrained and he still had his head, like he literally could have been suffocated had they not, because they literally mushed his whole face against the concrete. Too much. But I mean, so there's a moment like in the beginning where we did take it back. Do you want to show that part?
Yeah, that part where the whole thing when it started off from
okay, so like the very, very beginning, and we won't spend a whole lot of time because there's some people that can't visually see, but just this is like the very beginning.
Yes, sir. Is there a reason why you're popping the door open like that? I don't have a window that works. Is there a reason that you're pulling me over? Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason why I'm pulling you over. For one thing, inclement weather, you don't have your lights on. Two things, you're not wearing your seatbelt. It's daylight. I don't need the lights. And it's not weather. It's not raining. Oh, this is inclement. It's not raining. Okay, I'm not arguing with you. I'm telling you why I'm pulling you over. Give me your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance. No, call your supervisor. Why? Excuse me? Call your supervisor. Why did you pull me over? Say, I'm 35. I'm properly driver. I've already told you. Why did you pull me over? Step out of the vehicle. No, step out of the vehicle.
All right.
Yeah. So he asked for a supervisor, which you as a motorist have the right to. In another, I learned that the other expression is a white shirt. You can ask for, which means, them getting a supervisor for you. And obviously they already are mad when you say that because they don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So he was already mad.
Jen, wait, before we get what was he pulled over for? I heard something about lights.
Right.
What lights? Why was he being told because of the lights that he had to have lights? And he said, I don't have to. It's not raining or anything. It's not dark.
Correct. So that is part of the case, because he has, obtained a lawyer, I believe, civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump is representing him, and they are. I found an article that referenced that they several discrepancies in the official police report. They had a press conference that's actually out online for people to look at too, and they actually have a African American sheriff that conducted the plea, and everything was done by the book, and this and that. But when you
I think he said he doesn't watch TV or something like that.
What is it?
He made a comment, a really weird comment, like he doesn't watch TV, when he was asked about if he had seen the stuff on TV
Okay.
or something like that. And that actually brought about some really weird, it brought up some weird not weird thinking, but it brought up some kind of, I don't know how to put it, but it was weird in itself that you are a police officer, a senior police officer, and don't watch TV. That part was kind of threw people off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, definitely. So, I mean, this is just one of many exchanges that, African Americans experience. So I thought it would, be a good example to talk about this fear, the intimidation and feeling that people feel of driving while Black. We'll repeat that definition. We talked about it a second ago, but driving while Black is a phrase used to describe the racial profiling of Black drivers by law enforcement, where individuals are disproportionately stopped, searched, or questioned based on their race rather than a legitimate traffic violation. It reflects a broader pattern of systemic policing practices that unfairly target African Americans during routine activities such as driving. So that is where that term comes from, driving while Black. And that's what we want to talk about.
Now, in your case, we now, Jen, you've invited me to your show, and we've talked about this issue about work by accident, and actually that's how your podcast started, work by accident, stuff that happened around, and you felt like, look, we need to highlight these things because the community out there is not aware of some of these little bitty things that happen. And you analyze most of what was happening from your perspective, and try to give viewers an idea of to what is happening. And you've gathered a lot of knowledge and a lot of videos with these issues and pointed them out, and I thank you for that. What we're looking at, this is not an isolated thing. It's kind of something that happens all the time. I myself have been a victim of driving while Black, because one time I was driving late, probably midnight. That was a long time ago, way long time ago, and I got pulled over. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I was with somebody else. I was with a girl, and actually it was a first time date, and they started wondering if I was a criminal or something like that, because here I am, I'm being pulled over, and they don't know me from Jack. And you're like, okay, you just met this guy, he took you out couple of things, first date, and here you are being pulled over. You don't know what's happening. He could be anything, So needless to say, it was nothing. They just asked and then looked at it and then left me alone. But those are some of the issues that people do get. And I think as an adult, at that time I was an adult, when you look at teenagers, especially like him, he's a young adult, or even younger, you are really scared when your child goes out driving, especially if they're male. Well, now we can talk about women, because you have Sarah Bland being another case where something happened to her. She got pulled over, then things went south, went to jail. Suddenly she comes off, deceased. So these are the cases that you hear and you've seen going since way back. And when you have your kids start driving and they're in that mode of, hey, you're saying, okay, they've gotten to this level where now you are free of not having to chauffeur them. Now they're chauffeuring themselves.
Right.
You start to wonder, especially boys. Some boys are told, look, you can only carry one passenger. It's you and the next passenger. You cannot carry other people on the back. Nope, that's not acceptable. And it is scary for Black parents. And coming back to this particular incident now, let's look at it. The guy gets pulled over, right? And what does he do? He pretty much knows his rights. He knows very well what he is what he's entitled to, his freedom, and he asked for the supervisor. Now, he already told the cop, he opened the door, and that's the reason why the window was not down. He told him that the window was not working, so he closed it. When he asked for the supervisor, said he does not want to get out. He does not want to get out unless the supervisor is called. Now, things get dicey at that time, and I think that's where the questions become now. Why didn't he just get out of the car and ask for the supervisor? Or if he felt he was unsafe, then he locks himself in the car. And when you have the other car pull over on the front of him for the police officer, then the police officer pulls over right in front of him trying to block him. I mean, he could claim that he was scared, because you make it all everything just falls into play. Like you guys are up to something. You're having a bad day. You don't want to be told anything. And
true. And so, and William McNeil is 22, so it's very young. I did look it up that he's 22. I feel like him not wanting to get out of the car was totally because he did not feel safe. I think he even said that later in the press conference with Ben Crump. And I feel like it was a measure that, like, yes, I'm risking, having to go to jail because I don't feel safe. Because how many people immediately when they get out of the car, bam, they're shot dead. You know what I mean? So I felt like I'm closing this door until a second person who can witness. And mind you, he already announced that he was filming, because the officer, in the very beginning said, I got my camera on too. So he knew the guy was filming. And I think, I'm filming. I want a second officer here because, you know what I mean? Just for my safety as a person. So I kind of understand why he did that, so that it would be an additional set of boots on the ground, if you will, to witness what is happening. You know what I mean? But of course, he sees him not getting out of the car as, in compliance and being cooperative and things like that. And I think that created, some tension. But did he deserve, to be beaten and that type of thing? And the additional aggression that occurred, I disagree. I feel like it was excessive. And that's just an opinion.
The punch was not even warranted. What you had to do was just break the window and tell him, okay, now get out. Okay. And at that point, then if I'm thinking I don't know if he was going to get out or not, but I'm thinking at that point, if there are other supervisors, but it had already gone south. There was,
but you know what? That's another observation. I feel like they recognize this is a young kid. I'm not going to get my supervisor for this kid. Because why couldn't they just say, he could have even acted like the second officer. Okay, here's the supervisor. Get out the car. You know what I mean? Or anything. Or he was not going to, comply with that request of asking for the supervisor. He's like, I'm not getting this kid a supervisor. I mean, that's the energy that he was giving, is that I'm not doing that. We're just going to bust the window. It's like, is that procedure to just bust somebody's window if they ask for a supervisor? I think like if he would have been an older person, a non-melanated person, things would have went differently. It just really, I believe that. I feel like things would have went differently.
And I think there would probably been some hesitation if it was an older gentleman, if it was a Black older gentleman, and tell him, and then also how you dress. And this is kind of something which is weird. Okay, I'm going to get off topic. In those police videos that they have where they show you suspects behaving weirdly, and then you see somebody running away from cops, they act stupidly. I think when you look at those, even some cops say those happen because, and they're shown because when they arrest people of different caliber in society, they will behave differently. they'll be like, okay, fine, you tell me this, they'll comply, and you get out. There's not no fanfare, but most of it that they show you is the ones that run away, the ones that do crazy stuff, and with those being shown over and over again, kids watch it, and this is where it perpetuates to your notion when you become a cop. You've been watching these things when you're young, even though when you go through training, you don't look at it differently because you've seen them and you're laughing. But once you laugh and see it, it's still imprinted in your brains, right? So you get into a cop academy, and even though the supervisor tells you that, you're not going to change, in my opinion, because it's something that's there. Once you see something, you can't unsee it, and you're not taught to hate, but you learn. It's a process that you learn. And if you see those videos over and over again, if you like to watch, those cop videos, you say, hey, I want to be a cop. That's where it starts from, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this racial profiling that we're seeing is a pattern. We have some statistics that I wanted you to share, Sambaza, that we found about the frequency of these types of events. If you can share.
Sure. Now, here's the key points that we're looking at. The Standard of Open Policing Project 2020. After analyzing 100 million traffic stops across the U.S., the study found Black drivers are about 20% more likely to be stopped than white drivers. Once stopped, Black and Latino drivers are more likely to be searched, even though searches of white drivers are more likely to yield contraband. So U.S. Bureau of Statistics say that Black drivers were stopped by police at a higher rate, 9.8%, compared to white drivers at 8.6%. Let's look at the ACLU racial profiling data. Now, the ACLU are the ones that they advocate for. They do pro bono cases. They're lawyers, and it's not even for traffic cases. Anything that is against your rights, your freedom rights, and what have you. The ACLU states that racial profiling in traffic enforcement continues to be one of the most common forms of racially biased policing. They advocate for data collection and analysis at the local level and hold departments accountable. Yeah.
Okay.
So these are the data. This is the data that we have collected. And hey, like they said, their white counterparts usually yield more stuff than the Black counterparts. Yeah. But still, they're going to be pulled over.
Right. Now, you mentioned about being a parent and, your kids driving and things like that. And there's even reference to the talk that Black families have with their children. What does that look like for you? Have you had those conversations with the kids?
No, I have not yet. He just got his license. He got a permit. So he's about to do the test. Once he passes the test, we're going to have that talk with him. I think at that point, he will have to realize where he is in the world and what it takes to be a driver. What he'll need to do when he gets pulled over, what he needs to do when stuff happens. Now, Jen, I don't know if you remember a story I told you about these things of racial profiling. Majority of the time when people get profiled racially, it's usually out of their city.
Okay.
It's not within their city. Why I say that is because if your child could be, sometimes, I'm going to put sometimes, if your child is a standout or in the local high school, the local PD may have come across them or may know your parents, or have, if you're a football player or a soccer player or something, a local cop may have known you, or your son may have been on the same team with the cop's son and met in the field or somewhere, or they might be in the same high school. So some of these, I think, if we do a study, we'll know, we probably will get the idea that it does happen in your local city, but highly likely if you're a standout player, in the soccer team, or you're well known out there in the community. But these kids who are like quiet and live life on their own, quiet kids in the neighborhood, chances are, yeah, if you get caught up, yeah, the cop does not know you, and what's the first thing they'll do? They'll just treat you like any other.
Of course.
Yeah. And the worst part is, and I was told by the kids, I think before we get to the comments, when kids were younger, the African Americans that I met after I came to the U.S., they would say they would get pulled over by the cop, and then when the cop tells them to get out, right,
Mm-hmm.
they take them to the front of the car, and then ask them to press their head on the dash, on the front side of the dash, not the dashboard, but yeah, it's on the dash, right? And the car is hot, so you cannot put your head down, because if you put your face down on it, it's burning. The car has been running.
Correct.
So now you cannot you're trying to put your head up, because you're going to get burnt or get scalded by the hot, whatever, the hot metal. And he's pushing you down and saying you're resisting.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not trying to resist. All you're trying to do is trying to avoid getting burnt. And it was a tactic that they used and said, oh, now you're resisting. You're resisting. Okay, we're going to take you in. And yeah, it's so unfortunate.
True. Did
So let's go to
you?
the comments here.
Yes.
Yeah, Denise says, you can see that he braced himself prior to the break. Definitely a racial battle. Yeah, it does look like it was a racial. It had racial motives, and overextending your force. Because I mean, he had nothing. He already showed your hands. And another thing is, if I'm looking at the cops, I've seen videos where cops are being shot at by people in the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are usually calm. The one I saw last was, guy was calm, and then suddenly he started shooting at the police. And I'm sorry, it's an unfortunate thing, but in this instance, he was alone, and he already told you all he wanted was a supervisor.
Right.
He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't, and he was calm. All he had to do was just go back and sit in. The cop could have gone back and sat in his car, called the supervisor, and when the supervisor came, they approached him and they tell him, "Okay, fine, cool." There would have been nothing like resistance of arrest. There would have been nothing like that fight, and we would not have known anything about that. It'd have been just another day in his life.
Right. Another thing that bothers me, especially about the press conference, you're kind of familiar with the press conference that was held. The punch that the officer did after the glass was broken was referred to as a sucker punch. And I guess that term, the sheriff immediately disagreed that it was a sucker punch. It wasn't a sucker punch. It's just like, how is it not a sucker punch? But I guess if your interpretation of sucker punch, or maybe he just didn't like that word, or I just thought that was interesting.
The internet does not lie. The internet does not lie. There are receipts right there. I mean, you see, he breaks it, and then the next thing he does is throw in a punch. He cannot go he cannot go in court and say, "Oh, it was the force that I hit," and that's what he might say. It's the force that I hit the window. It just went straight through, and I didn't mean to hit him. It just hit him.
Right, and they had to literally undo his seatbelt, unclick him from his seatbelt to drag him out, to assert more force, unnecessary additional force onto him. And it just when he totally has a case, they went overboard. I don't know if the protocol is for someone to lose their job, or like something needs to happen, because it just seems like his civil rights were violated. We think we've seen that, even without being a lawyer or what have you. It definitely went too far.
I think at most they usually go on to desk duty while the case is going on.
Yeah.
Then they get their union rep to go. They actually have their union rep first. They'll come onto the scene and tell them, don't say anything. Don't do anything. You know what you did, and this is what they say. And then the union rep will get the story, and then now he's going to sit behind the union rep. So the union rep will be representing him when he goes to talk to his bosses. So they'll be there and say, okay, well, did you see this? And then the other cops are there. So there's that camaraderie with the union. I'm sorry to say, it's just a camaraderie with the union thingy, and then it'll be union against the police department member, because he's just a worker. He's just a regular.
True, right. An investigation will occur and happen, but you just wonder, how that's going to play out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, they're gonna break some bread for sure with what they're
yeah,
doing.
I
They're gonna
mean,
break some
a
bread.
lawsuit
They're
is
not
happening.
getting out of it scot free. No, they're gonna break some bread.
Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to add on to this part is that at least he got out alive. If he got out, if the situation was different, let's see. Denise said racial battle fatigue is what I meant to say.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's the term to say. The tired of these racial battles. Now, going back to what I was talking about, if he passed on,
Mhm.
say out of something that had happened over there, now that becomes a weird situation. Then I'm gonna give you guys a story about this. This is gonna go a little bit off, but it still ties on to this. There was a story about an NPR documentary I listened to, and they were talking about this particular cop. I think it was a retired cop. I'm not sure, but he's online. If you do a search, you'll find him. I didn't get all the details, but usually I put my notes. But most of the time I'm driving, so I can't stop and write those notes. However, that's been yeah. Let's get back to the story. So he talks about when you pass on and a cop comes to your house, the first thing he's going to ask you is like, Jen, do you know so and so? You're like, yeah, I know so and so. When was the last time you saw him? How is he? Or how was he when he left? And you innocently, you'll be spilling the beans without asking the cop, hey, why are you asking me all these questions?
Right.
And then at that point, after they see how you're going to behave or whatever you'll say, and when the point you say, hey, and what is wrong, why are you asking me the questions, that's when now they come out and tell you, so and so has been involved in an accident with the police, and he's no longer with us, and blah blah blah. That's how the spiel goes. But for this particular incident, there's this cop. He talks about it online, and he talks about it online and tells the cops that when you get to the house the first time, you're trying to get as much information as possible about this person, because for sure, when they realize what's happening, they shut off and request for a lawyer and don't give you any information, and then you don't know anything what's behind this person. They could have been on drugs, they could have been on anything else, and that's information you will not be told at that time. But you're trying to confirm that, hey, the person was on drugs. So if you wrote the person was on drugs, then they will say, okay, the person was on drugs, he left home here in a hurry, or he left home here with a fight.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy actually created a manual about this, and 80% of the cops in the US use that manual. And it's
Okay.
quite controversial because he sells it, and in that there is no compassion for the person who is bereaved, because what they're doing is, and he actually says on the video, when I heard, it was like, they're not your friend. Those people are not your friends at that moment. They're trying to sue you, and they're going to sue the department, because for a cop, once the person dies, they're on leave.
Right.
No, not even desk duty. Leave. You're not going to be at work. So he has to gather as much information as possible. And there was 2 incidents that were played on the NPR. I think if you go online, you might find that information there. They said information, like you were being asked the questions, you say, hey, you know what, this person is usually on drugs, he was on whatever, la 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 la. Let me tell you, when it came to paying the amounts for the damages, they
Right.
couldn't pay money. And guess what they said? There's this one. They said, we're not going to pay you any money. We're going to pay the amount, and it was like some little bitty amount, and they're going to donate it to another cause, like to teach. I think it was to sensitize people on how, or to sensitize the cops on how to behave when they get to somebody who is bereaved or is involved in a police shooting or something like that. Police shooting,
Okay.
something like that. So I'm glad this did not get into that situation, and we have a black boy who is still alive, to go home in the evening. I don't know how many other people who, there's so many others who may not have gone home, and we've seen them on TV, which is the one of the things that I say. It's really tough. But needless to say, this particular cop or this particular person has this, and he is actually selling it as manuals, and those manuals are being used. And I think what they're trying to do is change the way change the manuals that they use and change the behavior that they use. But sometimes these cops, to make changes is really, really hard, especially if it's gonna make you not get a lawsuit.
So, in your view, it was presented as something that was supposed to be positive to curb the aggression and fights and additional exchanges and escalation and things like that, violent escalations, or it just seems like another way to kind of save their neck?
No. This is a way of saving their necks, because remember,
Okay.
when they come to your house, Jen, when somebody comes to your house, you see a cop in front of the door, and then they, instead of telling you right off the bat, "Hey, Jen, look, I'm so and so, officer so and so, and I came to you regarding so and so," they say,
Oh
"Okay,
no, correct. They're collecting evidence.
So they don't even say, "I'm so and so." No, they're telling you. First question is, so and so? Yes. Who is he to you? Blah blah blah. Then they start prodding you questions before they get to starting to tell you, "Hey, this is what's happened." So with that in mind, they're trying to save themselves from not paying out if the thing is wishy-washy.
Right.
You're gathering evidence against the person. And here is somebody who's lost a life, and you're trying to save yourself. You see where that line is?
Of course.
But this
Of
guy
course.
is like, "No, that's what you're supposed to do. This is what it's supposed to do. This is the right thing to do. And I have a manual, and this is what I'm selling." And I'm like, wow, I was shocked.
Well, and so sharing that, it just shows you how deep the protection of the blue wall is. And, watching that press conference, I felt the blue wall was very strong, because it didn't seem like no matter what they asked him, he was going to take the side of the officer of the police department or whatever. No, he wasn't excessive. No, he didn't do anything wrong. Of course, he acted within protocol. Everything was, we're right and you're wrong. We're right and everybody else is wrong. So it's like, how do you fight this blue wall if it is going to protect at all costs, no matter right or wrong, or my interpretation to your interpretation? So that's why you have to take them to court, because that's the only way that you can get, hopefully, a fair fair chance, because it seems like it's impossible to fight a blue wall.
Yeah, it is impossible, but you have to try. I mean, these are things that you
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can't let them. Okay, you have to put resistance, because if you show resistance, that means that there'll be a way that they know that they can only do so much. But if you let them, they'll keep going on, finding ways to get these boys in. But it's a tough scenario when you look
It is, because and I think some people who are non-melanated may say, "Oh, you should be doing the right thing. You should follow the laws." And I think people want to follow the laws and not be, in cooperative or not trying to be uncooperative and things like that. And so the little bit of safety of, "Let me just stay in my car until a supervisor comes," if that makes you feel safe when you've seen case after case, news story after news story of African Americans being shot, Black women or men, because it's been a lot of women, Sandra Bland, we can go on and on and on, who have lost their lives at the hands of, on the other side of a police exchange, and it started one way and things went left. And I don't want people to just think we're anti, police or whatever, but these things, it's a pattern. There's statistics behind it. We talked about the statistics. It happens. And so, conversations,
So let me tell you a story. It happened in Dallas, like about some years ago. So guy gets pulled over. Hands on the steering wheel, like you tell the kids, put your hands on the steering wheel. And when they ask you questions, you tell them if you have a wallet, you tell them, look, I have my wallet. Can you please, here's the word you tell them, hold the steering and don't say anything. When he comes, they ask you, okay, what have I done? Blah, blah, he explains himself. And you tell them, hey, look, is there anything? You tell them, nope. Anything, they'll ask you if there are any guns, blah, blah, blah. You say, nope. And then driver's license, you say, hey, can I reach for my wallet? It's over here. Do you mind? Then they say, yes. Okay. Put it, one hand is up, you put it, show them, okay, here, that's my driver's license. So this guy, they pulled him over, asked him the questions. Then the next question is, do you own a gun? He said, yes, I'm a licensed gun holder. He showed him the gun. He's calm. And I don't know what he said. They pulled him over, and then he 100% did everything right. I just do not understand what happened to the cop.
Wait, so he had a gun in the car?
Yeah, he had a gun.
Normally they would lose it right then and there.
But he was a licensed gun owner and everything. He was allowed to carry.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened. They put him in handcuffs and took him to jail.
Yeah.
1 month later, those things, usually the reports start flowing in, and then the story starts getting heat. Only to find out that the boy's dad was a cop. Uncle or dad was a cop.
Okay.
And he had been told to do exactly what he was supposed to do. So now the cop gets into trouble just because of that.
Yeah. And justifiably. I mean, if he followed all of the, measures. He did not show violence or threatening or
And when he was brought on TV, he said, look, my dad or my uncle was a police officer, and they told me when I get pulled over, these are the things you have to say, and this is everything you say. And the guy was calm, and everything just went on. And suddenly he just felt like he had to put him in jail. And here we are. And I was like, wow.
And those are the ones you shouldn't be scared if they do say, I'm going to take you to jail, because you're getting out. You're getting out right away, and you're not going to be there long, because you're in there on some bull, for sure. Especially if once you get a chance to make a call.
Happen to you. You don't know what's
going to happen. True, but I don't think we can let that be the reason of not challenging the police. I feel like we still need to challenge, calmly, firmly, let them know you don't feel safe. Ask for a white shirt, ask for a supervisor, if you feel unsafe, and you have a right to do that. You know what I mean? If they said they're going to take you to jail, let them take you to jail. You know what I mean? Let it get thrown out. You can get released on your own recognizance. Like, they use that as a tactic to scare you. You know what I mean? Like,
let me give you a last one. And this was so sad. This was so sad.
God, Sambaza.
And everybody in Dallas will know this. In Houston, he was a Houston running back. He was playing for the NFL, and his mother-in-law was critically ill in hospital, and she was in hospice and what have you. So they get the call. They're told, hey, y'all need to go. You all need to come to the hospital if you want to see her for the final time and say whatever your rights and what have you. So, they got out of the car driving fast. And what they did was they put their hazards on. So, like, when you see somebody put your hazards on, you're like, okay, there's something going on. So the cop sees him, drives, stops. The guy did not say whether he was a running back, not say he was anybody famous. All he'd say, like, look, guys, look, please, let me go and see my mother-in-law. She is passing. She's going to pass, and this is the only chance I have. They kept them there, and then finally another cop from another place, like a different area, came and told this guy, "Hey, why don't you just take them there, and then let them go in? After they go in, then you can arrest them." This cop was like, "No, I'm not doing that." So they took them there. Even before they got there, the lady died. before they could get to see them. And then he was still outside. He wouldn't let the other guy in. He let the other people in. So then finally the other cop told him, "Look, dog, look, you're not doing this right. Let them in, right?" So he let the guy in. The guy came back, put him in cuffs, and said, "Hey, take me to jail." So remember, it catches heat. So from the time the story was put in, it took like about a month, because I think, the way stories happen, then guys are talking about it, then suddenly, what, who, what? And they said, "Oh, wow." Then they realized what mistake they had done. And this guy was he was a running back in Houston. He didn't want to bring his name out. With
Right.
It's another
Right.
story. It's another thing about them. As long as they don't want attention coming to you, whether as a player. But it was so sad, and I don't know what became of it. Maybe I need to find out. But yeah, that's what happened, because it was just driving while black and could not.
True. It happens. Yeah, it does. So as we wind down, I just want to reframe our conversation. We are broadcasting this conversation on multiple platforms. So we appreciate the ones who have joined us, even if for a moment, to take part in our conversation. And we were talking about driving while black. This still exists. Driving while black is a phrase used to describe racial profiling of black drivers by law enforcement, where individuals are disproportionately stopped, searched, questioned based on their race rather than a legitimate traffic violation. It reflects a broader pattern of systemic policing practices that unfairly target Black Americans during routine activities such as driving. And we talked about a recent news story involving William McNeil in Jacksonville, Florida, where he was unarmed and asked for a supervisor, and the traffic stop really escalated in a violent way towards him. And this was all caught on camera. So, any final thoughts? And we kind of did a great job in, talking about this theory, what it looks like, how it has manifested over the years. Some statistics were shared and things like that. So, additional final thoughts?
Final thoughts are, we have to live in this world. It could be worse, but we can do better. And as parents of new drivers, if your child is getting out there to drive, please just teach them, tell them the business, tell them the truth. Doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter. Your color will always show, and those prejudices are always going to be there. Right. Now, they may not show right now, but it's good to tell your kids. And in my opinion, it's good to tell your kids so that they are aware of it. It may not happen, but just be aware that you're not the same as the other kids who are non-melanated. So just be careful when you're driving. Know your rights. Ask questions. Be respectful. And yeah, don't. If the officer is having a bad day, that's his problem. But if you're respectful and everything is showing and everything is running, because they have a camera that's running, just be respectful and everything will work out fine. And that's all I have to say about that, Jen. And take us home.
Absolutely. And before I conclude, since we've talked about this topic before, shout out to Brian Wilt Turner, who was on the show before with his invention that he created called Pocket USA, where you can put your driver's license and put this outside of your window so that you can, be safe and inside of your vehicle and send your ID out on the other side. It is, you can't really see it, but shout out to Brian Wilt Turner, who created the Pocket USA. And I actually ordered one. He was a guest on, it had to be like season 1, season 2 of Walk by Accident. And for these types of exchanges, he created this so that people could be safe and not have those kind of problems. And we had a great conversation. We will reference his episode where we had the conversation about what to do when you're pulled over and things like that as we wind down. But definitely know your rights is key. And thank you for joining. We hope that today's conversation has inspired and enlightened you. If you found today's episode meaningful, please consider sharing it with friends and family. Our collective awareness and advocacy play a crucial role in creating positive change. Stay tuned for more engaging content. We look forward to having these important conversations in the future. And with that, we again thank you, and everyone take care. At this time, we're going to go ahead and conclude the episode. We greatly appreciate you listening. We invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. On Facebook, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. We also have the new website up, www.wokebyaccident.net. Please check us out. And also follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms. And please leave a review and share feedback. You can also reach out by Gmail, wokebyaccident@gmail.com. And every time you listen, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening, and take care.